Part 48. Become a disciple of Taoist priest Four Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 475. The Dragon Emperor nodded, and after briefly sizing up the woman on the bed, he reached out and waved his hand, and the rope binding her and the coarse cloth in her mouth disappeared instantly. However, the freed woman was no longer as crazy as before. Instead, she looked at the Dragon Emperor with great fear and huddled at the foot of the bed, not daring to come over. "Why, do you still want me to invite you out?" The light voice was full of powerful intimidation. "The little demon doesn't dare." Accompanied by a clear voice, a green aura flew out from the woman's eyebrows and landed on the ground, transforming into a 2-foot-tall blue fox with 3 tails. Three-tailed blue fox. Dragon Emperor was slightly surprised. The aptitudes of the fox clan can basically be distinguished by their tails. 1 tail is the most common, 3 tails are slightly stronger, 6 tails are 1 level higher, and 9 tails are the best. Every 9-tailed fox is a divine beast with immortal qualities, and its future is limitless. However, the number of fox tribes of this level is too small, and almost all of them exist in legends. Although the 6-tailed fox tribe is not as good as the 9-tailed fox clan, if you practice, as long as you have enough spiritual energy and follow the steps, it is easy to become an immortal. 3 tails are much inferior in comparison, certainly better than 1 tail. However, the 3-tailed fox in front of me is a rare green fox among the fox tribe, which is a fox tribe born with the wood attribute. Compared with the fire fox, which is the most common among the fox tribe, the green fox has a gentler personality. In the eyes of many monks, it is a superior spiritual beast that protects the law. "May I have your name?" The little demon's name is Qingfeng. Qingfeng, the Dragon Emperor tasted it for a while. As Su Junming's 7-soul Dharma body, and possessing all his memories, the Dragon Emperor always felt that this name was somewhat familiar. However, he didn't go into details. It was probably a character in Li's eye. "I see you have some merit. Why do you want to murder this wife of the Lu family?" Qingfeng breathed a sigh of relief. It was great that this man didn't shout and kill him as soon as he came up. You must know that when the other party just flicked his sleeves and removed the rope from Mrs. Liu's body, even with just a little bit of magic power, the coercion revealed in it made her scalp numb. At the same time, an unprecedented danger weighed on his heart, making it difficult to control himself. Back to the real person, it's not the little demon who wants to kill Liu's wife, but she provoked the little demon first. "You're talking nonsense. I, a humble Jing, usually want to do good to others and won't even kill a chicken. How could I want to murder you?" Relying on the Dragon Emperor's support, Lu Shigi said tremblingly. Qingfeng glanced at him and continued, "Genren Rong, this wife of the Lu family went to Wujia town, 18 miles away, to visit relatives a few days ago. On that day, the little demon was seriously injured by an enemy and hid in Wujia town to recuperate. But unfortunately the Lu family's wife saw it, and she wanted to capture the little demon and keep it as a pet. The little demon refused to obey and was bitten by her dog. Therefore, the skill was a small skill to teach her a lesson and he had no intention of harming her. Otherwise, with the little demon's magical power, she would not have been able to survive for 7 days. The Dragon Emperor nodded slightly. The fox demon named Qingfeng was indeed seriously injured, and the injury has not yet healed. Moreover, it was precisely because of this injury that she was unable to transform. The thing that injured you was a late-stage Jindan corpse demon. How do real people know? Qingfeng was stunned. Because it is in Liujia village. Now he understood how the golden elixir level corpse demon in Lucien's family came to be. Qingfeng's expression suddenly changed. She couldn't defeat the corpse demon in the first place, but now that she was seriously injured, she was no match for him. If it catches up with it, I'm afraid it will be a disaster. Real help. Qingfeng quickly bowed down. After glancing at it, the Dragon Emperor flicked his finger, and a little spiritual light entered the body of the woman on the bed. The spiritual power wandered away, and the woman soon woke up. When Lu Shigi heard the sound and saw that the woman was awake, his expression instantly became excited. She yelled "Ma'am" and ran over. When Mrs. Lu saw her husband, she originally looked happy, but when she saw the green fox kneeling on the ground out of the corner of her eye, her expression suddenly changed and she looked horrified. "Monster, monster! Madam, don't be afraid, madam, don't be afraid, this fox demon has been subdued by the real person." After he comforted the woman with gentle words for a moment and stabilized her mood, Lu Xiongui told her previous relationship. After the woman understood the whole story, she got out of bed with the help of her husband, carefully walked around Qingfeng, and came to Su Junming to collect her skirt as a gift. His tone was full of gratitude. "Thank you so much for saving my life." The Dragon Emperor nodded slightly. "I hope you will remember today's lesson in the future, so that you won't do it in vain." Mrs. Lu subconsciously turned her head to look at King Hu next to her, and Qingfeng happened to also turn to look at her. The faint beast eyes made Liu's wife tremble in her heart. She quickly turned her head and said respectfully. The Dragon Emperor nodded and turned his head. "Lu Shigi, today I take action to save you from disaster, and I will take 3 measures of corn from your family as reward. Are you convinced?" Although Lu Shigi felt heartbroken, he did not dare not agree. "Be convinced, be convinced. That's good." The Dragon Emperor waved his sleeves, and a violent wave poured into the room, making everyone unable to open their eyes. When the wind noise died down, the furniture and furnishings in the house were not moved at all, but the Dragon Emperor and Qingfeng disappeared. Everyone was amazed and thought that the Lu Shigi family was really lucky to have such a profound Taoist immortal to help. After sending away the spectators, Lu Shigi quickly ran to his grain man, opened the lid and saw that the originally full corn was indeed missing 3 bushels. Well. He sighed heavily. Although he felt reluctant to give up, he managed to save his wife. At this time, Dragon Emperor and Qingfeng had already arrived over Liujiazhuang. Looking at the corn in his hand, he activated the bronze mirror to examine Liujiazhuang for a moment. With a wave of his hand, 3 buckets of corn, like a spiritual snake, flew down and disappeared into a thatched house. Hearing the commotion, a ragged young man ran to the kitchen, looked at the full rice vat, and opened his mouth in surprise. Soon, a voice sounded in my ears. "To pity you for your filial piety, I will give you a jar of corn to encourage you." After a while, the young man let out an ouch and jumped up instantly. "Mom, the gods appeared and gave us a jar of corns." Qingfeng, who was standing next to the Dragon Emperor, saw this scene and took a secret look at the cold-looking young man next to him. "I didn't expect that this high-level cultivator looks cold, but he is actually a compassionate person who is cold on the outside and warm on the inside." Huh. The Dragon Emperor raised his eyebrows and looked towards the Lucien family. A brilliant sword light rose, and the sharp sword energy in it suppressed even the dazzling sunlight in the day. A young voice with a bit of cynicism spoke up. "Monster, let me see where you run away this time." There was a boom, and a black flag made a fierce sound, blocking the sword energy. "Zhaiku yi, don't bully others too much." Along with the furious voice, a ray of black light flew out from Lucien's family and fled directly to the outside of Liujia village. Jianguang followed closely behind and chased after him. "Old ghost, after all your evil deeds, I will definitely kill you with my sword this time." Looking at the 2 escaping lights, the Dragon Emperor raised his eyebrows. "Zhaiku yi." With a flick of his fingers, a burst of energy, like thunder, came first and hit the fleeing ghost in an instant. Boom, huge flames soared into the sky. The fierce ghost couldn't even afford to scream, and was burned to ashes. Zhaiku yi and Qingfeng were all shocked when they saw this scene, especially the latter. One finger's spiritual power changes across thousands of feet and kills a ghost cultivator in the late stage of golden core. How high is this person's cultivation level? In the middle stage of nascent soul, is it still perfect? A sword light flew over and stopped 3 feet in front of Su Junming. The spiritual energy disappeared, revealing a young Taoist priest who was wearing a slightly sloppy brown sword uniform and a bun. He was about 26 or 7 years old and had a cheerful appearance. While he was sizing up the other party, Zhaiqiyi was also sizing up the Dragon Emperor. You are so young, but your cultivation level is so high, and you are accompanied by a female fox. I have never heard of such a person in the cultivation world. After this thought flashed past, Zhaiqiyi held his hand as a gift. Kunlun sect monk Zhiqiyi pays homage to the senior. Your name is Zhaiqiyi. Senior, have you ever heard of Junior's name? The Dragon Emperor nodded slightly, looking at the face in front of him that was very similar to a certain king, and subconsciously looked in the direction of Zhongzhou city. He thought to himself, it seems that the centipede is about to take action. As soon as the thought fell, thousands of golden lights suddenly appeared in the distant sky, and an extremely powerful coercion emitted, making Zhaiqiyi and Qingfeng unable to hold on to escape the light, and fell straight to the ground. The Dragon Emperor waved his long sleeve and instantly pulled them back. Roar! After a mournful cry, the golden light dimmed. The overwhelming pressure just now has mostly dissipated. Seeing this scene, the Dragon Emperor's pupils instantly tightened. Senior, what was that just now? Zhaiqiyi was still frightened. His overwhelming power, like the sky was falling and the earth was falling, was really impressive. Just as the Dragon Emperor was about to speak, Su Junming's voice came from the sea of consciousness. Dragon Emperor, has Sahang taken action? Just now, it swallowed 60% of Daong's dragon vein energy. 60%? This old demon is really careful. The Dragon Emperor nodded. It is also afraid of the dragon's energy backlash, and in the end it will steal the chicken but lose the rice. It is still as cautious as ever, but with 60% of its dragon energy gone, you can take action. It happens that Fu Tianzhou of the Fu family is being escorted to the prison in Zhongzhou city. You go and rescue their family first, and then kill them later. That old monster. I know. How are you doing there? My physical body has been repaired, and now I am cultivating the physical body of the Black Mountain old demon. You know, the physical body of a witch general who is equivalent to a true immortal is not so easy to repair. The essence and blood of so many ancient relics in the East China Sea are not enough. Originally it was enough, but most of it was used by me to practice the Panhuang scripture and repair my body. The rest was naturally not enough. The Dragon Emperor frowned. Without this physical body, you wouldn't be able to go to the East China Sea and Hin. Oh, I am also having a headache about this matter. My dear, I have something to note. You say. After I kill Sahangputu and practice for a while, I can advance my cultivation to the peak of Yuan Shen. Then I can leave this world and go to the void to survive the tribulation. After I succeed, I will be an immortal. Combined with the great 5 elements divine light and the netherworld white bone flag, it is enough to kill the great Lord Huosang. Although his physical body is only that of a low-level shaman general and is far from comparable to the old demon from Montenegro, it should be enough if he only repairs his physical body. This method is good for a while, but if you survive the catastrophe in the void, you will never be able to come to the world of Liuzai again. The world of Liuzai cannot accommodate immortals. Whenever immortals from the outside come in, they will be suppressed by the full force of heaven in this world. At that time, not to mention the Dragon Emperor, even a true immortal will have to kneel in front of the heaven in the small world. I have broken through the fairyland. The Liuzai world has lost its value to me. It doesn't matter whether I can enter or not. Moreover, I plan to kill the Huosang Lord and then go to Chixian Shenzhou, which can be regarded as a front stop for you. Chixian Shenzhou? That's a really good place. After Su Junming thought about it briefly, he agreed. When he is unable to enter the world of Liuzai, he will continue his practice in China, a place where immortals and demons coexist. This is the only world he knows that can accommodate immortals and demons. There is no second choice. Unless he is willing to take a chance and continue drifting in the void world. However, Su Junming did not want to try this kind of thing that even the golden immortal would not dare to do. Although he had Daihuang Mountain to replenish his spiritual energy, the endless loneliness and darkness, as well as the inability to improve for thousands of years, were enough to torture people crazy. No one would venture into the void unless absolutely necessary. How long does it take for you to advance to the perfection of Yuan Shen? If nothing unexpected happens, half a century is enough time. Su Junming was secretly envious. There is really no comparison between people. He broke through the soul earlier than the Dragon Emperor, and he also took more pills to assist his practice. As a result, in terms of the progress of his practice, he was still slower than the Dragon Emperor. The body with 5 virtues is really enviable. The corners of Dragon Emperor's cold mouth raised slightly, and then quickly returned to normal. He activated the escape light and flew straight towards Zhongzhou City. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 476. After discussing the future countermeasures with Su Junming, the Dragon Emperor did not want to waste any more time. He had lived in seclusion in Tianmen Mountain for many years and had already figured out the situation in Zhongzhou City. He accurately found the location of the Tianlao. Because the Fu family sisters have not started training and have hardly moved around in the spiritual world, almost no one knows that Su Junming's 2 disciples are descendants of the famous Fu family in Daong. Therefore, even Putusahang, who was a national master, did not use the methods of a practitioner to deal with the Fu family. They just imprisoned the head of the Fu family, Fu Qingfeng, and Fu Yueqi's father, Fu Tianzhou, in the sky prison. To others, the heavily guarded prison was like no one else in the Dragon Emperor's eyes. The prison leader here is nothing more than a golden elixir, and the person hiding behind the scenes to guard the heavenly prison is just a middle-stage nascent soul monk who belongs to the Xianjing division. He was easily restrained by the Dragon Emperor. Walking into the Tianlao leisurely. In these years, Emperor Daong was fatuous, and the administration was controlled by Putusahang. In order to swallow up the dragon energy, he deliberately corrupted Chaogang and disintegrated Daong's rule. Therefore, there were a small number of criminals detained in the prison today, and the rest were upright ministers and family members of the Daong dynasty. Such people were almost all elites among ordinary people, and they basically had merit. It would be fine if he didn't come. Now that he's here, he can rescue these people together. He has a portable small cave that Su Junming practiced, which is just right for them to hide in and then throw them into Daihuang Mountain in the future. The Fu family, which had its roots in the officialdom when the Daong dynasty was founded, had continued for hundreds of years and was deeply entwined in Daong. Fu Tianzhou was even the Grand Master of the dynasty. With such an important position, of course he was imprisoned at the bottom of the prison. The cells are all made of thick stone, and all have restrictions, which can be described as strict. At this moment, the Grand Master, who was wearing a dirty and worn-out prison uniform, and whose hair and beard had become tangled with heavy oil because he hadn't washed himself properly for many days, was lying imagelessly on the smelly hay. Longing for the life of fine clothing and fine food. He frowned, and the right hand that was digging into his arm stopped instantly. After a while, when he took it out again, there was a small white thing between his thumb and index finger. Probably because he had foreseen the bad outcome in the future, the little thing struggled more fiercely. It's rare that we can have extra meals. After speaking, he opened his mouth and threw it casually. A fat louse drew a beautiful parabola in the air and landed accurately in the Grand Master's mouth. With a gumble sound, accompanied by saliva, it slid directly into the stomach. Then he reached into his arms and continued to look for new prey. It was tragic to say the least. If it weren't for the bad food and food in the cell that was so unpalatable and severely lacking in quantity, he wouldn't have fallen to this level. I thought that I was a grand master of the court, beneath one person and above 10,000 people. From a young age, I was well dressed and well fed, and all the officials bowed their heads. I never imagined that I would now be reduced to catching lice to satisfy my hunger in this heavenly prison. I am really ashamed. As soon as the thought came to an end, a ray of joy appeared in his brows. Another lice that had eaten their brains full of fat intestines was successfully caught. After swallowing it eagerly, the hunger seemed to be even stronger. Chilla, accompanied by a slightly harsh friction sound, a stone brick was pulled out from the wall opposite Fu Tianqiu. An unkempt and old-looking head appeared in Fu Tianqiu's eyes. After living here for 3 months, he already knew the inmate opposite him very well, an old guy who didn't know why he was locked up here. It stands to reason that those who can be imprisoned at the bottom of the sky prison are all high-ranking officials of the 6 ministries of the imperial court, or leaders of the royal family and nobles. But after being a grand master for many years, he had never seen this person, let alone heard of him. However, eating lice and cockroaches to satisfy hunger was something he taught himself. Old Futio, don't lice taste good? Although they are ugly and don't taste very good, the nutrients inside are no worse than those of beef and mutton outside. Grandma's ones are just not easy to catch. Glanced at him. In this prison, no matter how well you eat, it's of no use. You won't be beheaded in the future. Behead? Hee, I don't think you are short-lived. Being imprisoned this time is just a small bump in your fate. Fu Tianqiu's expression changed slightly. Of course he knew that he would not die. After all, his 2 daughters were the disciples of Su Junming, the famous Chongshan master. It's just that he is very confused. It has been 3 months since he was imprisoned. The confidant who made the secret arrangement should have arrived at Chongshan residence in Lanyu Mountain, Jinhua County, but why has no one come to rescue him yet? Old Fu, what are you thinking about? Your face has become so ugly. Fu Tianzhou turned his head. We've known each other for 3 months and you've never told me who you really are. Me? Haha, I'm just a common person in the world. I'm just unlucky. I was caught in the sky prison. Now I am eating here and waiting to die. That's all. As for my name, I have long forgotten it after being imprisoned for so many years. Fu Tianzhou frowned slightly. He had heard this rhetoric countless times. He had already heard enough. If he continued to ask questions, he was destined to get nowhere. He was too lazy to speak and closed his worn-out cuffs. Although he was extremely reluctant, he picked up the dirty, even damp and moldy straw next to him and covered himself with it. It's so cold in this damn dungeon. If you don't cover it thickly, you won't be able to survive for a few days, you will catch wind and cold, and then die from the disease. Fortunately, he had a relatively high resistance to the cold because he suffered from cold illness, otherwise he would have collapsed in 1 month, not to mention 3 months. The unkempt old man opposite saw that he was silent and was about to speak when his expression suddenly changed. The hole he dug was filled in as fast as lightning, and then there was no movement at all. Just when Fu Tianzhou was stunned and incomprehensible, the closed cast iron cell door beside him disappeared silently. A young man wearing a black robe with a cold expression and a green gourd hanging on his waist stepped in. Fu Tianzhou. He had faced the emperor of today without any fear, but in front of this young man in black robe, he actually felt a sense of cowardice that he did not dare to look directly at. Especially the opponent's eyes as deep as the abyss, exuding such strong pressure all the time. When Fu Tianzhou heard the other party calling his name, he peeled off the straw from his body and sat up quickly. I am Fu Tianzhou, who are you? I am Taoist Tai, the master uncle of sisters Fu Qingfeng and Fu Yueqi. I heard that you were in trouble and came here to rescue you. Fu Tianko's expression instantly became excited when he heard this. Those who have been waiting for a long time are finally here today. The joyful news instantly restored his vitality. He fluttered and stood up. Thank you, Taoist master, for saving your life. Taoist Dragon Emperor nodded slightly, frowned slightly when he looked at the ragged Fu Tianzhou in front of him, waved his hand, and a flash of light flashed through. The filth on Fu Tiankai's body disappeared instantly, and the dirty and worn prison uniform turned into a clean purple gown. Although he had long known that the Xian family's methods were extraordinary, Fu Tianzhou was both surprised and happy when he looked at his brand new makeup. Finally we can escape from this dark prison. Just when he was about to ask his family, he found that the Taoist who called himself Tai Yi had turned his eyes to the left. I didn't expect that a monk like you, who is in the late nascent soul stage, is hiding in this heavenly prison. In Fu Tianko's surprised eyes, the old guy who had been with him day and night for 3 months, taught him to eat lice and cockroaches, but never said who he was, suddenly appeared in his cell. There was a flash of light on his body, his dirty clothes disappeared, and the color on his face disappeared. What came instead was a clean white robe, perfectly groomed white hair, and a baby-like face. It can be said that he has a childlike appearance and a fairy-like demeanor. Fu Tiankai was stunned and subconsciously pointed at the other person. He never expected that this person's true appearance was like this. You. The old man glanced at him, smiled slightly, and bowed solemnly to the Dragon Emperor. Zhuolong, the master of Daong Xianjing Sitng Pavilion, pays homage to Master Tai. In fact, Zhuolong didn't want to come out, but at this moment, the person standing in front of him was a real Yuan Shen. After noticing the other person's aura just now, he originally planned to use the turtle breath technique to avoid this person. Unexpectedly, it was discovered in the end. Fortunately, this person was the younger brother of Chongshan Master Su Junming and a righteous man. Otherwise, after being discovered, he would not have come out, but would have simply escaped. In most cases, the Dragon Emperor who shares memories with Su Junming certainly knows who Zhuolong is. The announcement from the Xianjing department said that you have been missing for many years, but unexpectedly you are hiding in this prison. I don't want to, Junior, but if I don't hide, I'm afraid I will be imprisoned or killed by Master Sahang at this moment, Zhuolong said with a bitter smile. The Dragon Emperor nodded in agreement. The monster hides it so well. Why can't even the Yuan Shen monks discover its true identity without secret skills? Only your secret skills can know the past and the future. It's a surprise. Of course, you can't be left alive. Senior, Sahangputu has devoured 70% of the dragon veins of the Daong dynasty. It is very powerful. Please contact Master Chongshan this morning to jointly eliminate this demon and bring peace to the people of the world. The Dragon Emperor glanced at him. This matter is my own free opinion. After a ray of magic wrapped around Fu Tiankai, the two figures disappeared instantly. Without a powerful Yuan Shen monk by his side, Zhuolong couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief and sat down without any image. He wiped his forehead subconsciously. Although there was no trace of sweat, this action seemed to bring him a different kind of safety, and the uneasy look on his face disappeared a lot. But when the sleeve touched his forehead, Zhuolong's expression instantly froze. After being stunned for a while, he let out an ouch, jumped up with excitement on his face, and slapped himself twice. Fortunately, there was no one here, otherwise others would have thought he was crazy. It's too easy, wasn't it just right in front of me? I was so stupid. He quickly activated the escape light and chased after the Dragon Emperor. Over the years, he has been hiding in the prison, avoiding Sahangputu's pursuit, and also calculating his future. At the beginning, Tianji was in chaos and there was nothing. Until 15 years ago, the secret of heaven suddenly changed, and the word Tai suddenly appeared on the spiritual platform. Zhuo Long thought hard for many years and could not understand its meaning. No matter how much the secrets are calculated, nothing has changed. His future and his path to immortality all depend on the word Tai Yi. That's why he was so excited. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 477. The Dragon Emperor brought Fu Tianzhou to the Fu family. As the residence of the Grand Master, the place where he lives is naturally luxurious. However, now the place is surrounded by the imperial army. Although they are concerned about the power that the Fu family has maintained in the court for many years, they have not confiscated the family and exterminated the family, but they are like prisoners, imprisoned in the mansion, and are not allowed to enter or exit. The two fell from the air, and the old servant who was cleaning the yard was stunned when he saw them. Throwing the broom away, he ran towards the back house. "Madam, the master is back, the master is back." Not long after, the chaotic and rapid footsteps became louder and louder. Apparently there are many people coming here. You settle down with your family, I still have things to deal with. Without giving Fu Tianzhou a chance to reply, the Dragon Emperor disappeared instantly. Arriving over the Fu family, a green light flashed behind his head, and the Fu family's house, covering an area of more than 10 acres, disappeared in an instant. Opening your palms, a 9-inch high hill appeared in your palms. This is the cave heaven Dharma realm that Su Junming refined for him. There are about 100 miles of space inside, which is incomparable to Daihuang Mountain. But it is enough to house the Fu family house. Turning his head to look at the palace, his expression turned cold. No more worries, the next step is to deal with you. Just as he was about to fly towards the palace, he was stopped by a voice before he could start. "Hold on, real person." Zhuo Long ran over anxiously, looking at the indifferent Dragon Emperor who turned his face and felt happy in his heart. "Fortunately, I caught up with it. This is my immortal destiny and I must not throw it away." He is also a person with an exquisite mind and good at observing words and emotions. "Senior Tai, are you going to kill the great master Sahang? If so, there is no need to go to the palace, it is not there at the moment." "Oh, how do you know?" "This junior is good at celestial magic. When he was avoiding disasters in the heavenly prison, he also deduced the origin of Sahang's monster, so he got a lot of useful information." Thinking that this person was once the master of the Suanji Pavilion of the Xianjing division, and was good at the magic of heaven, the Dragon Emperor did not doubt his words. "Do you know where this monster is?" "I know. It's in the Bodhi Temple in Mangdang Mountain in the northwest, 900 miles away. If the senior doesn't give up, the junior can take the senior there." The Dragon Emperor nodded after thinking for a moment. 900 miles to the northwest is a large area, and it will take a lot of time to find it. It would be great if someone could lead the way and lead directly to the demon centipede's lair. "Let's go." Zhuo Long was delighted. "Senior, come with me." The escaping light flies, leading the way ahead. The two of them flew straight to the northwest, one behind the other. The two of them, one Yuanshen and the other Yuanying, fled extremely fast and arrived at Mangdang Mountain in half an hour. This is a high mountain range stretching for thousands of miles in the northwest. Although it is not as beautiful as the mountains and rivers in the south, it is majestic and majestic, full of the desolation and heroism of the north. Mangdang Mountain is not a famous mountain or river. Apart from some casual cultivators, I have not heard of any cultivating sects here. Along the way, the Dragon Emperor was very surprised. Why would Sahangputa choose this place as the final place to transform into a dragon? "Senior, that is Bodhi Temple." Looking in the direction of Zhuolong's finger, a temple on the top of a mountain came into view. The temple is not a glorious one, probably only 3 times entering the courtyard. But just because it looks ordinary on the outside doesn't mean it's ordinary underneath. The Dragon Emperor stopped to escape the light, activated the phantom of the bronze mirror in his dantian, and looked towards the temple. Although he is very confident in his own strength, it does not mean that he has to act recklessly. As Su Junming's 7-soul Dharmakaya, the bronze mirror phantom in the dantian of the Dragon Emperor is stronger than the bronze mirror phantoms in the dantian of direct disciples such as Yan Chixia, Su Huang, and Qiao Shaoxin. Under the mirror light, the image of the temple, which looked ordinary on the outside, changed drastically. Layers of restrictions, like a dense spider web, enveloped the entire temple. The core of these restrictions is a huge formation that is hundreds of feet in size. Lingbao level formation diagram. No wonder this formation is so powerful. The formation diagram has 5 formation corners. It is obvious that this is a 5-element formation diagram. Under the formation diagram, an endless black mist shrouded the temple. Almost without using his spiritual consciousness, the Dragon Emperor could feel the pitiful wails of the dead souls inside, as well as the overwhelming resentment he had never experienced before. Back then, when Su Junming beheaded the tree demon grandma in Lanruo Temple, he saw a sea of bones in her old lair. The extremely dense resentment had almost begun to affect the surrounding sky. But the Dragon Emperor now discovered that although the resentment in Lanruo Temple was strong, it was still much less than it was here. I'm afraid not less than 1 million people will die at the mouth of this old monster. The Dragon Emperor's murderous intention became particularly hot. He took a deep breath and calmed down for the time being. After regaining his composure, he activated the mirror light to look deeper into the mountain temple. Soon I saw several monks in the front and backyards. These so-called monks are all transformed into centipedes, not humans. However, the Dragon Emperor did not see Sahangputu among them. The mirror light continued downwards, showing ordinary rocks. Soon the mirror light became blurred, making it impossible to move forward. The Dragon Emperor frowned and did not continue. He is just Su Junming's 7-soul body, not the real person. Using the bronze mirror phantom, one can only see clearly the situation within 100 miles. Unless he is willing to move forward and shorten the distance between the two sides, he will not be able to see the centipede demon's background. If you move forward, you will be easily discovered. After all, the range of the nascent soul monk's spiritual consciousness detection is hundreds of miles, and there are several nascent soul monks among the fake monks in the temple, monitoring the surrounding area. Of course, if the Dragon Emperor uses the Hushan Spirit Talisman, there is no harm in getting a closer look. But he didn't want to go to such trouble. The left palm is raised, and the spiritual light of the palm is victorious. In a moment, a simple bronze sword box appeared in his palm. The Dragon Emperor muttered something in his mouth and threw it away. The sword box was like lightning, instantly reaching the top of the temple. 4 sword lights, red, green, black and yellow, flew towards the southeast, northwest, and northwest. It's thousands of feet away in the blink of an eye. The sword box expanded rapidly and instantly became 1,000 feet in size, like a curtain covering the sky. The 4 surrounding red, green, black, and yellow sword lights rising into the sky like pillars of heaven merged with the giant screen in the sky to form a huge formation. Is this the legendary 4 elephants sword formation that is the mountain-suppressing spiritual treasure practiced by Master Chongshan? It's so powerful. Zhuolong, who came with him, couldn't help but marvel when he saw the huge formation in mid-air with astonishing momentum and sword energy soaring into the sky. The majestic and powerful 4-elephant sword formation certainly alarmed the monks stationed in the temple. However, they were not fools. Once they saw the momentum of the sword formation, they knew they were invincible, so they wisely hid within the formation. Unfortunately, they don't understand how powerful their enemy is. After a flash of five-color brilliance that spanned the heaven and earth and was enough to eclipse the sun, the formation that protected the Bodhi temple and was enough for the Yuan Shen monks was instantly broken, and even the formation map disappeared. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 478. Looking at the Bodhi temple that had completely disappeared 100 feet away, even though he had the cultivation of the late nascent soul and good chi nourishing skills, he still subconsciously opened his mouth with disbelief on his face. The magic power of Yuan Shen monks is really too strong. He quickly overturned his conclusion. No, ordinary Yuan Shen monks definitely don't have such strong strength, unless they are at the peak of Yuan Shen. Subconsciously, he turned his head to look at the young man in black robe with a stern expression and earth-shattering aura, and involuntarily recalled in his mind the scene where the divine light of 5 colors spread across the world just now. Powerful and domineering. Zhuo Long had never seen such amazing magical powers. Regardless of what he thought, the Dragon Emperor looked sternly at the mountaintop where half of his great 5 elements divine light had been consumed. Aren't you coming out yet? If it weren't for the bronze mirror's ability to break illusions and preserve reality, you would have been able to hide it. Under the illumination of the bronze mirror, thousands of feet underground of the Bodhi temple, among the billions of grains of sand and soil, there was a grain of light yellow soil mixed with it. Except for the slightly denser aura, it was undoubtedly the same as the surrounding soil grains. If it were any other Yuan Shen cultivator, most of their attention would be attracted by the Bodhi temple guarded by the Lingbao level formation, and they would never have thought that Sahangputa could be so cunning as Sanyeo. This is a cave-like Dharma realm that is tens of thousands of miles in size. Except for a mountain in the center of this Dharma realm, it is surrounded by endless plains. The plains are dotted with villages, towns, and cities, just like the outside world. However, these villages, towns, and cities seemed like ghosts, with not a single soul in sight. However, these villages and towns are not dilapidated, and there is not even much dust inside. It is obvious that the people who live here have not been away for a long time. No, it's not like there's really no one. The cesspits and dirty and smelly ditches were now filled with people. Judging by the clothes they were wearing, they looked like traffickers, foodmen, and dignitaries, but at this moment they were all trembling with despair on their faces. Seeing them, the old monk sitting cross-legged on the top of the mountain, wearing cassocks and with a sinister expression, showed a trace of disgust on his face. It's too dirty. Forget it, let's keep these for human race. If we eat them all, it will be troublesome to replenish them. Thinking of this, he withdrew his attention and his consciousness solidified in his dantian. Here, a ball of bright yellow dragon vein energy is constantly struggling. But no matter how hard it struggled, it couldn't get rid of hundreds of black chains around it. Looking at the energy of this dragon vein and feeling the surging spiritual energy in it, the old monk couldn't help but show joy on his face. When I refine this great eternal dragon vein, I will have enough information to overcome the calamity. Even if I, Sahang, am guilty of so many crimes, the calamity will never be able to do anything to me, ha ha. The proud laughter didn't last long before I felt a huge shock in my heart. His expression froze, and he suddenly raised his head and looked into the sky. The Bodhi temple, once used to confuse enemies, has disappeared. Not long after, a vast 5-color divine light rushed down like lightning. What he thought was a clever concealment method seemed to be of no use to the enemy. The opponent accurately found his magical realm. The moment the 5-color divine light touched the Dharma realm, the old monk's heart trembled. Connected with the Dharma realm's mind, he instantly felt that his Dharma realm seemed to be restrained by a huge mountain. No matter how it activates its magic power, it can't shake it even half a cent. Damn it, who is this person? How could there be such a person in Daon cultivation world? As soon as the thought came to an end, its expression became even more ugly. Because the 5-color divine light exerts increasing pressure on its cave heaven realm, within a moment or 3, the entire cave heaven will be crushed to pieces. By then, it doesn't seem like it will be seriously injured. We must not sit still and wait for death. After thinking for a moment, feeling the growing pressure, Sahangputa gritted his teeth and shouted angrily. Burst! With a boom, a world 30,000 miles away exploded instantly like a ball of brilliant fireworks. The great five elements divine light trembled violently under this powerful impact. The Dragon Emperor frowned. His great five elements divine light was created through the method of opening up the world. The red divine light is a world completely filled with flames. The white divine light is a world filled with the energy of gold. Black is the energy of water. Yellow is the earth element. Cyan is the energy of wood. Each of the five worlds is 60,000 miles in size. With the Dragon Emperor's ability and his current cultivation level, he can completely transform the five elements world into a cave of 120,000 miles under the small thousand world. But this is really time-consuming. Since Su Junming entered Taoism, he has had constant opportunities. After 2 worlds and more than a century, he turned Daihuang Mountain into what it is now. It has 2 caves, Taishi and Taiyuan, which add up to 150,000 yuan extent. It has only been more than 10 years since the Dragon Emperor was born. If he didn't have a high starting point and the innate Tai Chi 5 elements Qi as his foundation, he could gather the 5 elements spiritual Qi at a faster speed and hundreds of times. He would never have thought of the 5 elements world developed to the present level. The Dragon Emperor stretched out his palm and said calmly. The true shape map of the 5 mountains. An extremely complex formation enveloped the great 5 elements divine light, and an extremely powerful force of suppression instantly crushed the tyrannical impact of the destruction of the cave. But at the moment when the impact was wiped out, a black shadow rushed out from the loose great 5 elements divine light like lightning. As soon as the divine light faded, a heavy feeling spread into the Dragon Emperor's heart. Although a 30,000-mile-long cave Dharma realm exploded, its spiritual energy would not disappear. Now that they are all absorbed by his great 5 elements divine light, they will naturally consume part of the power of the divine light. However, the Dragon Emperor has no intention of getting rid of these auras. As long as they are digested completely, his 5 elements world will be able to advance further. Only with a stronger 5 elements divine light can he be more confident in killing Lord Huosang. Of course, before that, we must first capture the evil-doing Sahangputu. Looking at the black shadow going away, he smiled disdainfully. Run, can you run away? With a wave of his hand, a black talisman the size of an adult's palm appeared in the distance. The talisman flashed, and the Dragon Emperor's figure disappeared instantly. Zhuge Wolong, who was not far away, saw this and was very worried. This was his immortal fate and he could not throw it away no matter what. Senior, wait for me. He rushed to escape and chased after him with all his might. Looking at the young man in black robe who was blocking the way in front of him, Sahangputa's expression suddenly changed and he quickly changed the direction, but no matter how it changed, he could never get rid of it. The art of pot heaven. Sahangputa looked ugly. No matter how fast it escapes, it can't compare to the instant movement of the Hushan technique. Staring at the young man in black robe opposite him, Sahang read every word. I have no enmity with you, why do you want to be my enemy? Those humans in your captivity had no enmity against you, but you devoured them one after another. The Daong dynasty not only had no enmity against you, but even granted you the title of national master of the country, but you devoured it. The dragon energy of the dynasty has limited the Daong dynasty to a state of fragmentation. Your Excellency also said that those humans are kept in captivity by me. Since they are the things I raise, life and death are naturally handled by me. And isn't it the same with you humans? Animals raised in captivity can be slaughtered or sold at any time. Human beings are all spirits. One of them can also be captured and slaughtered by our demon clan. As for the Daong dynasty, Haha, even if there is no Lao monk, it will inevitably fall apart. Now that I have taken away the dragon Qi, the Daong dynasty has collapsed, and the time for the world to go from chaos to order has been greatly shortened. I don't know how many people have been able to survive because of Lao monk. Staying alive is a meritorious deed. The Dragon Emperor's expression became even colder. Everyone in the Buddhist sect says that you are all eloquent liars, especially good at confusing right and wrong and confusing the public. I didn't expect that you, a mere old monster, would become so cunning after wearing a Buddha skin. I really can't spare you. Before he finished speaking, a ray of five-colored light rushed out from the back of his head. This light was only the size of a pencil at the beginning. The moment it left the Dragon Emperor's side, it grew strong in the wind, and instantly turned into a giant of thousands of feet, overwhelming the sky and crushing towards Sahangputu. The latter's expression suddenly changed. He had already tasted the power of the five elements divine light before. Naturally, I didn't dare to let it cover me, otherwise Sahangputu wouldn't have a second cave heaven Dharma realm to compensate for. Of course, ordinary spiritual treasures cannot block this divine light. As for running, he couldn't outrun the opponent who possessed Hu Tiandeo. However, after practicing for thousands of years, Sahangputu is not without means. He glanced at the Dragon Emperor with a gloomy look, waved his left palm, and a dirty black leather bag appeared in mid-air. To be honest, he didn't want to fight this battle. Because as long as you digest the Imperial Dragon energy in your belly, you can accumulate enough information to survive the tribulation and become an immortal. Therefore, even if it abandons its own Lingbao level formation diagram and explodes the heavenly Dharma realm, it has no intention of confronting the Dragon Emperor head-on. No matter how many treasures you have, they can't compare to your own fairyland. And after becoming an immortal, the usefulness of these spiritual treasures is not as great as imagined. But it happened that the Dragon Emperor had the Hushan spiritual treasure on his body. Unless he beheaded him, he would have no way to escape. This fact forced it to fight. The Dragon Emperor stared at the black leather bag in Sahangputu's hand. He looked a little miserable. Not only are there some hard black patches stuck to the surface, making it look uneven. The corners were also jagged, as if they had been bitten by a dog. In addition, the stitching gaps on the three sides are also of varying sizes, and the craftsmanship can be described as poor. Just such a tattered bag that no beggar would want, but Sahangputu, whose cultivation was infinitely approaching the perfection of the soul, regarded it as a treasure in the palm of his hand. The Dragon Emperor was not a fool and quickly activated the bronze mirror to take a look. He looked shocked. This black leather bag contains a black cyclone, which is like a small black hole, emitting a frightening devouring aura. Before he could see clearly, Sahangputu sacrificed the leather bag. The leather bag flashed with light and instantly turned into a huge spiral spanning thousands of feet and covering the sky. Incredibly astonishing devouring power spread out, covering the Dragon Emperor's great five elements divine light. Just like eating noodles, the rolling five elements of divine light turned into a light ribbon and was sucked in by the spiral. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 479. Chapter 472 Golden Centipede Bag. The Dragon Emperor's expression changed. The devouring power revealed by this black spiral is really astonishing, and it is definitely an immortal level method. However, the great five elements divine light is his natal magical power and his natal treasure. There is also an innate Tai Chi five elements fundamental energy to suppress it, although now he is unable to use 1/10,000th of the ability of this fundamental energy. But as long as they are there, the foundation of his five elements divine light will be as stable as Mount Tai. Even if it is sucked away by others, it will only be ordinary five elements spiritual energy, not the most fundamental and core innate Tai Chi five elements fundamental energy. The innate five elements Chi that I finally gained through sacrifice cannot be swallowed up by you so easily. The true shape map of the 5 mountains. In an instant, 5 huge and vague divine patterns appeared behind the Dragon Emperor. Unimaginable power came and instantly suppressed the 5 elements divine light that was about to be swallowed by the black bag. Damn it, what kind of magical power is this that can actually compete with my golden centipede bag? Sahangputa looked at the vague divine pattern in mid-air with a gloomy expression. Although it was just a light and shadow, he felt unimaginable power from it. It seems that there are 5 ancient giant mountains suppressing it. Even if it collapses and the ground collapses, it is difficult to shake. I don't believe it. Sahangputa suddenly transformed, the golden light surged, and his 7-foot-old and frail body instantly transformed into a huge golden centipede. This golden centipede is 3,000 feet long and nearly 500 feet wide. The broad back is covered with hard scales, and there are 900 pairs of arms and legs, which are sharp and huge, and their roots are like courtyard pillars. On the ferocious head, 2 flesh horns soared into the sky, like 2 golden-brown giant whips. Under the horns, the mountain-like beast pupils were full of violence, and the rays of light were like cold lightning. 2 huge fangs stretched out the corners of his lips, and the ferocious opening and closing of the mouthparts revealed the evil spirit. Seeing the monster-like and extremely huge golden centipede, Zuch Wolong came up from behind and swallowed his saliva. I deeply feel how wise my decision was in hiding in the sky prison. Roar! He roared full of anger at the Dragon Emperor, and the surging sound waves were like an exploding volcano, instantly causing the clouds within hundreds of miles to dissipate. You evil beast, I will kill you today. Stinky Taoist, you are not ashamed of your talk. Look at my golden centipede bag. The giant centipede opened its huge mouth of 100 feet, and overwhelming demonic power rolled out. The black spiral in mid-air, urged by this demonic force, instantly expanded in a circle, and its swallowing power increased several times. The great 5 elements spiritual light shook instantly. The 5 divine pattern illusions formed by stimulating the true shape diagram of the 5 mountains are also shaking endlessly, as if they will collapse in the next moment. The Dragon Emperor frowned. This was the first time he encountered such a situation. I don't know what the black leather bag is made of, but it is so powerful. It was precisely because he knew that the 5 elements divine light was suppressed by his 5 sacred figures that he became more and more curious about the black pocket. Feeling the rapid consumption of mana in his dantian, he frowned tightly. This old demon is at a higher level than me, and his magic power is stronger than mine. We can't continue to waste it. If he can train the 5 elements cave heaven sacrifice to 120,000 miles, even though the golden centipede bag is strong, it won't be a problem. It's a pity that the time he was born was short after all, and the 5 elements Dharma realm of the great 5 elements divine light still contains the remains of a cave 30,000 miles in size. This undigested remains restrained a lot of the power of the great 5 elements divine light. After pondering for a moment, he had an idea in his mind. Silently activating his magic power, a black jade talisman wrapped around a copper bell and disappeared in an instant. At this moment, although Sahangputa was concentrating on activating the treasure of his life and absorbing the 5-color divine light, as an old demon who had lived for 1,000 years, he did not neglect to be vigilant about his surroundings. You must know that the guy opposite has the Hushin Lingbao. His vigilance was not in vain. Hundreds of feet away from his back, a black transmission channel opened instantly, and a copper bell the size of an adult's palm flew out from it. He snorted coldly. I've been waiting for this move from you for a long time. With a rush in his heart, a 9-ring tin staff struck the bronze bell like lightning. Seeing this scene, the Dragon Emperor showed a cold expression on his face. The fingertips changed. The lost soul bell. In an instant, the divine pattern on an orange gourd in the sea of consciousness shone brightly. Thousands of feet away, the soul-falling bell that Su Junming handed over to the Dragon Emperor for use after the sacrifice began to vibrate instantly. A voice like a yellow bell resounded through the sky. As one of Su Junming's 7 soul Dharma bodies, whether the previous corpse dog soul Dharma body Renwuji or the current Fui soul Dharma body Dragon Emperor, they all gained a spiritual power at the moment of awakening. Renwuji's magical power is the soul binding rope. The magical power obtained by the Dragon Emperor is the soul falling bell. There is no doubt about the power of magical powers. Compared with the spells that can only be mastered through continuous practice and understanding, magical powers are always the most valuable tool in the hands of practitioners. The strongest, bar none. Especially when the magical power is combined with the top spiritual treasure that matches the magical power, the power exerted is by no means 1 + 1 = 2, but even stronger. The mighty bells, under the control of the Dragon Emperor, merged into one face, crushing towards the giant centipede like lightning. With a boom, the 9-ring tin staff held on for a moment before being blown away. Not good. Ignoring the shock, he subconsciously activated his natal spiritual treasure to resist. As a result, the black hole, which was restrained by the divine light of the 5 elements, was not as smooth as before. In an instant, the sound of the bell enveloped 5,000 feet. Different from the Yin Dao Ling Bao in Jin Senti's imagination, a strange soul-soothing power was introduced into the body. Damn, that bastard is so treacherous. Before the thought came to an end, he felt the demon soul in his body trembling, and his control over his magic power plummeted. Without the magic power, the black vortex formed by the golden centipede bag in mid-air collapsed instantly, and the 5 elements of divine light swarmed up and covered it instantly. The Dragon Emperor stretched out his hand and the 4-elephant sword formation, which had been hidden for a long time, instantly appeared, and 4 sword lights shot into the sky. The extremely hard golden centipede armor was even more like tofu in front of them and was instantly cut through. Severe pain stimulated Jin Centipede's nerves. 4. Elephant sword formation, you, are Su Junming. There was strong resentment in his disbelieving tone. The Dragon Emperor did not answer, and used his magic power to activate the soul falling bell again. This time the bell was not as loud as before, but the soul falling power contained in it was not reduced at all. The body was chopped into 4 pieces by the 4-elephant sword formation, and the heavily injured golden centipede was unable to stop him. I hate it so much. With the final unwillingness, the demon soul fell into the endless darkness. It does have reason to hate it. Seeing that the dragon energy it has planned for many years has been obtained, it can be devoured and refined in just 7 days. By then, it will be able to accumulate enough spiritual energy to survive the disaster and become an immortal. It's a pity that it was just a little bit short, and the success fell short. The great 5 elements divine light swept across, put away the broken monster body, and suppressed it in the 5 elements world, and then the Dragon Emperor breathed a sigh of relief. Although there were 3 great spiritual treasures to help him, killing Sahangputu was much more difficult than he imagined. He stretched out his hand and took back the soul-destroying bell and the 4-elephant sword formation. Looking at Zhuge Wolong flying over anxiously, he considered that without him to lead the way, he would not be able to find the traces of the old demon so quickly. If it were delayed for a few days and the old demon was allowed to refine the dragon vein spiritual energy of the Daong dynasty, there was no way he would really be able to survive the catastrophe and become an immortal. Of course, the Dragon Emperor has to put a question mark on this. The way of heaven in this world no longer allows the existence of immortals. Unless you leave this world and go to the endless void to survive the tribulation, it will be difficult to succeed. But no matter what, Zhuge Wolong must be rewarded for helping him. But before he could think about what to reward the other party, he saw this guy sliding and kneeling in the air from a long distance away. Master, please accept my disciple's bow. Although the Dragon Emperor inherited more than 90% of Su Junming's memories, including the memories after he advanced to Yuan Shen, he was stunned by Zhuge Wolong's manipulation after 6 worlds. After all, he was not an ordinary person. He quickly calmed down and frowned. Get up, I never said I would accept you as my disciple. Zhuge Wolong observed his words and knew that the Dragon Emperor was not someone who could be settled with a struggle. Fortunately, after struggling for a long time, he shamelessly knelt down, leaving a deep impression on the other party. After achieving his goal, he stood up smoothly, activated the escape light, and came to a place 10 feet in front of the Dragon Emperor. This disciple is devoted to the Tao and has admired the master for a long time. I also asked the master to accept the disciple as a disciple for the sake of the disciple's previous achievements. Worship the Tao with all your heart. Have you admired it for a long time? When you were in the dungeon, if I hadn't called you out, you would still be lying there. Moreover, even if you saw me, all I saw in your eyes was fear and alienation. You have no intention of worshipping me as your teacher. Why did you change your mind this time? Don't tell me it's because of the battle just now. On the way here, I saw the fire in your eyes. If it weren't for the fact that you are upright and have some merits, I would have slapped you away. Zhuge Wolong smiled bitterly in his heart. The Yuan Shen monk is really extraordinary, and he can't hide it at all. He raised his head and looked at the threatening eyes in front of him. His heart trembled. After hesitating for a moment, he decided to tell the truth. To be honest, Master, this disciple is proficient in the secrets of heaven. When he was hiding from the Imperial Master in prison, no, the centipede demon, he deduced his path. As a result, the secret revealed only the word Tai Yi. The disciple didn't understand his meaning at first. It wasn't until the master rescued Fu Tianzhou from Tianlao and called himself Genren Tai that the disciple suddenly realized that the disciple's destiny should be with the master, so he caught up with him. Assist my mentor to kill the centipede demon. After saying that, he bowed his head and spoke sincerely. I also hope that the master will accept the disciple as his disciple because he has a heart for the Tao and has no evil deeds. The disciple must work hard to practice and devote himself to the Tao so as not to embarrass his teacher. The Dragon Emperor understood in his heart the reason why Zhuge Wolong's attitude changed drastically. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 480. Chapter 473 Tai Genren. Master Tai is the Taoist title given to himself by the Dragon Emperor. Su Junming didn't want others to know that Dragon Emperor and Renwuji were both his 7 soul Dharmakayas. Because this is his biggest trump card, his last hope to survive in the ever-changing world of practice. Therefore, making the Dragon Emperor as independent as possible would be more conducive to hiding the secret. The independent road number is one of the symbols. Looking at Zhuge Wolong, the Dragon Emperor shook his head inwardly. At first, Su Junming set up a test array outside Tianmen Mountain to recruit disciples and preach. Zhuge Wolong also participated, although he was one of the few people besides Yan Shixia who could pass through 300 illusion formations. But if you don't pass, you don't pass. Therefore, it is impossible to accept him as a disciple. I don't want to accept a disciple yet. Zhuge Wolong looked anxious. Master. He waved his hand to interrupt him. Hear me out. The stern tone made Zhuge Wolong's heart tremble and he stopped instantly. Although I won't accept you as my disciple, I can give you a way to become an immortal. By then, whether you can become an immortal depends entirely on yourself. According to the Dragon Emperor's original plan, he would kill Sahangpudu, and after a period of pure cultivation, he would go to the void to survive the heavenly tribulation. At that time, he would have the capital to kill the Huosang master and go to Chixian Shenzhou. When the time comes, you can take Zhuge Wolong with you, not only to give him a chance, but also to understand the cause and effect of his leading the way this time. In the end, whether he can become an immortal as he wishes depends on his own destiny. Zhuo was happy but also a little worried. He wanted to ask what the way to become an immortal was, but before he could speak, a bright sword light flying from the southeast made him stop subconsciously. The sword light flashed like lightning, and when they came closer, they fell from the sky. A sword cultivator wearing a white cloak, a feathered robe and a star crown, with sword energy soaring into the sky, angry eyebrows, young appearance and domineering momentum, appeared in front of the two of them. The eyes of the Dragon Emperor and the visitor instantly clashed. Each of them felt the temperament and magic power of the Yuan Shen monk in the other. But to the Dragon Emperor, the person in front of him was no stranger. Ye Gaiyun looked at the young man in black robe opposite him with a cold expression and earth-shattering aura, feeling secretly shocked. When did the world of Daong practice have such a tyrannical Yuan Shen monk again? He turned his head and looked at the old man next to him, feeling slightly shocked. Mr. Zhuge. Zhuo cupped his hands and smiled. The governor is safe and well. Why is Mr. Zhuge here? Of course you will follow our division to kill Sahangputu, who has done many evil things. Master. Ye Gaiyun's eyes instantly turned to the black-robed boy, and what he saw was the dissatisfied look in his eyes. He didn't know what this meant. What Ye Gaiyun wanted to know more now was where Sahangputu was. I am Ye Gaiyun, the governor of Xiaxuanjing division. I wonder what the name of your Taoist is. Where is the fairyland? I just saw the spiritual light here shining directly on the bullfighting, and the spiritual energy was shaking endlessly. But my Taoist will fight with the demon Buddha Sahangputu again. Ye Gaiyun was attracted by the big news about the battle between Dragon Emperor and Sahangputu just now. Taoist names and names are of no importance. But you, as the envoy of the Xianjing division, allowed Sahangputu to swallow up most of the dragon chi of the Daong dynasty, so that the artifact collapsed, the heroes competed for the deer, and the people were trapped in fire and water. It is simply a sin. Profound. Ye Gaiyun was not as angry as expected, but instead sighed deeply. What fellow Taoist criticizes is that if Ye hadn't been stupid and was deceived out of Zhongzhou city by the demon monk's trick, he wouldn't have succeeded. Subconsciously he glanced at Zhuo. 7 days ago, he received a Fijian message from Chen Bao, the commander of the Xianjing division in Nanyuan province, saying that he had found the reclusive Zhuo in Baifeng mountain in Longjiang province. Chen Bao repeatedly persuaded him to return to Xianjing division, but the other party insisted on refusing. In desperation, Chen Baoke flew his sword to pass the letter, hoping that Ye Gaiyun would come forward to persuade him. Ye Gaiyun, who had been searching for Zhuo for many years, did not hesitate and flew directly to Nanyuan province with his sword. Nanyuan is located in the southernmost part of Daong, nearly 100,000 miles away. Even if Ye Gaiyun is a Yuan Shen monk, it would still take several days to rush there without stopping. Just when he arrived in Nanyuan, what was waiting for him was not Zhuo, but the chaotic Xianjing Si Yamen of Nanyuan province. Chen Bao, who once flew a sword to pass down letters, has already taken all the accumulation of the Xianjing division of Nanyuan province and flew away. Sensing something was wrong, Ye Gaiyun simply cleaned up the situation in the Xianjing division of Nanyuan province, temporarily appointed a commander to clean up the mess, and then rushed towards Zhongzhou as fast as possible. But he was still too late. When he arrived in Nanyuan province, Sahangputu, who had successfully mobilized the tiger away from the mountain, launched years of planning and swallowed up the dynasty dragon energy accumulated by the Daong dynasty for hundreds of years in one fell swoop. A stick and knock it to dust. After returning to Zhongzhou, seeing the situation in front of him and realizing that he had been tricked, Ye Gaiyun was so angry that he could no longer care about the emperor's obstruction. He broke into the palace with his sword, but Sahangputu had already disappeared without a trace. Ye Gaiyun, who had been searching for 2 days without finding anything, hurried over after seeing the earth-shattering momentum in the northwest. I didn't see Sahangputu, but I saw Zhuo, who had been searching for many years, and the Yuan Shendaxiu who had never been seen before. Now that Sahangputu has surrendered, fellow Taoist, please come back. After a big battle, the Dragon Emperor also wanted to take a rest and recover his magic power. Wait a minute, after stopping him, I dare to ask my friend, where is the dragon energy that Sahangputu took away? The Dragon Emperor glanced at him and understood Yagayun's plan. It has not been long since Sahangputu took away the dragon energy, and the situation in the Daong dynasty has not yet become unmanageable. If it can be retrieved in time and combined with the remaining dragon energy, then the Daong dynasty will still have hope of maintaining it despite the turmoil. If there is another wise king who works hard to govern, Daong may not be able to get out of the quagmire. But this possibility is really unlikely. The chaos in the Daong dynasty was certainly caused by Sahangputu stirring up trouble and cholera in order to seize the dragon spirit behind his back. But the root cause is that after ruling the world for hundreds of years, the land annexation of the Daong dynasty has reached its peak. The officialdom is corrupt, the officials are not in good governance, and the army is not peaceful. Almost all the situations that should be expected in the end of the dynasty are present in Daong. Unless there is a bottom-up revolution, it will be too difficult to change by one's own strength. There is no such person among the children of the Daong royal family. I'm afraid I will disappoint fellow Taoist. Although Sahangputu was killed by me, the dragon chi of the dynasty was not in my hands. Long-term pain is worse than short-term pain. Instead of continuing the end of the dynasty, a war will inevitably happen in the end. It is better to rise from the ashes as soon as possible and grow a new dynasty from Daong's corpse. Fellow Taoist, can you bear to plunge all the people into fire and water? Yagayun couldn't help but said. Fellow Taoist, yeah, I told you before. I don't have Daong's dragon vein aura in my hand. Yagayun shook his head. Why do fellow Taoists lie to me? The Daong dragon vein spiritual energy has been accumulated for hundreds of years, and even an immortal can suppress it. Although I don't know what method Sahangputu used to take away most of it. But if you want to digest it, it can't be done in a short time. Arrive. Now, it has been less than 5 days since the spiritual energy disappeared and Sahang, the demon monk, was killed by fellow Taoists. Even if part of the dragon energy is refined by Sahang, there will definitely still be a lot left. There was a pause. Fellow Taoist, dragon vein spiritual energy is transformed from the spiritual energy of heaven and earth and the wishes of billions of living beings in the great eternal day. It is difficult to refine. Even if it can be used, it will be caused by many causes and consequences, and there will be endless troubles. Fellow Taoist is a Taoist master, and now he is even more supreme. Why bother? How can such a small amount of spiritual energy ruin my Taoist career? The Dragon Emperor smiled coldly. Fellow Taoist yet is very sharp-tongued. But I still say the same thing, the dragon chi is not in my hands. Yagayun sighed, and with a choking sound, a flying sword with flashing spiritual energy appeared in his palm. Although Ye doesn't want to be an enemy of fellow Taoist, he has to do so for the sake of all the people in the world. I hope that fellow Taoist can find his way back and return the dragon energy. The Dragon Emperor glanced at him. You are no match for me. Ye had to do it. Seeing his determined look, the Dragon Emperor shook his head, stretched out his hand, and a bronze bell appeared from the void. Feeling the somewhat mysterious aura of the bronze bell, Yagayun did not dare to neglect it and activated his magic power fiercely. The sword energy surged like a tide. Just as he was about to make a preemptive strike, he heard a bell ringing in his ears. The sound of the bell was not loud, but when it reached his ears, his spirit instantly became scattered. The sword energy that used to be like an arm and a finger became scattered. The sword energy collapsed and the aura dimmed. Looking at Yagayun, who was in a daze, the Dragon Emperor activated the Hushan Spirit Talisman, opened the space passage, and walked in. You can come in too. When Zuch Wolong heard this, he didn't dare to be negligent and walked in quickly. Looking back at Yegayun, who was still looking dull, he sighed and walked into the space passage. A few minutes later, Yegayun woke up and looked at the empty world, his expression darkened. Although he knew that he was no match for others, being subdued by others still made him feel ashamed and angry. Angry at my own weakness. When I go back this time, I must practice harder. It's just Daong. Alas. After a long sigh, Mangdang Mountain finally calmed down. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 481. This is a huge space, as big as 10,000 feet. Dozens of luminous pearls the size of wash basins illuminate the entire space. In the center of this huge space, a demon god with the head of an ox and a human body, 6 arms, and a broad aura sat cross-legged in the center. In the demon god's chest, a crack that was 100 feet long and more than 10 feet wide opened, revealing the bright red flesh and white bones inside. It seems that the vitality of this corpse has been almost restored by you. Above the head of the demon, 2 figures, one green and one black, sat cross-legged opposite each other. It was Su Junming and the Dragon Emperor who returned to Daihuang Mountain. Shaked his head. It's still very early. Now I have just removed the death energy from his body. If I want to revive this corpse and repair the injuries in the body, it will take decades of hard work and a huge amount of spiritual energy. The Dragon Emperor nodded, and with a wave of his hand, a magic bag flew towards Su Junming. This is the body of Sahangputu and the dragon vein spiritual energy he obtained. It should be enough for you to use for a long time. Su Junming took it, his consciousness soaked in it, and after looking at it for a few times, he waved it away. After Yegayun was defeated by one of your moves, he sent me a letter asking me to come out and wish him to regain Daong's dragon vein aura. The Dragon Emperor said calmly, he is really stubborn. Don't you know that you and I are from the same sect? Haha, I guess I don't know. After all, you only appeared for a short time, and not many people know about our relationship. Do you want to return this dragon energy to him? The Dragon Emperor asked. How is that possible? This is our trophy. Moreover, although the old demon Sahangputu is cruel, he is right. The Daong dynasty is already rotten. Instead of letting it rot slowly, it is better to speed up the process. Long-term pain is worse than short-term pain, let the new dynasty be established as soon as possible. The Dragon Emperor was silent for a moment. The world is in turmoil, and it is the common people who are suffering. I don't know how many lives will be lost in this chaos. Glanced at him. You seem to have something in your words. The Dragon Emperor raised his head. The 120,000-mile mountains and rivers in the Taishi cave of Daihuang Mountain are wider than Daong. Instead of leaving it unused, it is better to develop and utilize it. Su Junming frowned slightly. You want to bring in the people of Daong. It comes in part by part. Su Junming was silent for a moment. Even if I agree to you, the world's leather cauldron will still kill people. But at least fewer people will die. Seeing the Dragon Emperor's stubborn look, Su Junming nodded. His 7 soul Dharma bodies have different personalities because of their different souls. Renwuji, who is a corpse dog soul, although he looks like a boy, is unruly and unruly. Fuchsia soul Dragon Emperor, on the other hand, has a compassionate temperament that is warm on the outside but warm on the inside. I really don't know what the character of K Yinpo's clone is like. He shook his head inwardly. The yellow gourd represented by K Yinpo was only the size of a child's fist until now, and he didn't know how long it would take to reach maturity. If you decide to do it, then do it. Su Junming agreed. If nothing unexpected happens in the future, his Daihuang Mountain will survive the catastrophe and become a small world. He never thought of having such a huge world to himself. Moreover, in a world where humanity flourishes, more monastic geniuses will be born. If the teaching is successful, it will not only ensure the inheritance of his Chongshan lineage, but more importantly, it will enrich the world's principles and help the world grow. The more the merrier. The same holds true for the world. Therefore, from ancient times to the present, powerful worlds are generally practice worlds where spiritual beings flourish. As the master of the world, Su Junming certainly hopes that his world will become stronger and stronger, so that the power of the world he can mobilize will become stronger. If Daihuang Mountain achieves the small 1,000 worlds, unless he is a true immortal, there will be nothing he can do to him who owns a world. I would like to mobilize some disciples from Chongshan Academy to help. Ken. It has been 53 years since Chongshan Academy was established. Over the past 50 years, Chongshan Academy has not only given birth to tens of millions of people, but nearly half of them have received education from Chongshan Academy. Although not many of them can become talented in the end, after years of accumulation, there are more than 30 nascent souls, 600 to 700 golden elixirs, and hundreds of thousands of innates. The strength is still higher than that of Kunlun and White Horse Temple in Daeong World. If you focus all your energy on these worldly things, what will happen to your cultivation? Don't worry, with your pills here, I will definitely be able to accumulate enough cultivation to advance to the immortal realm. Emotional guy has his mind set on his 9 yellow pills. The 9 yellow pill is a pill that he refined by combining various secret recipes of pills, with the help of a bronze mirror, and the types of elixirs he already had in hand to refine his merits. In fact, Su Junming had better elixir recipes than Zhuhuang Dan, and even elixir recipes, but he couldn't find the elixir he could refine. Rather than searching all over the world and not necessarily being able to find the result, it is better to innovate on the basis of existing herbs yourself, which saves effort. Have you read Sahangputu's memory? Dragon Emperor asked. Su Junming nodded. What's the origin of that black bag? Anything that can block his great 5 elements divine light must be extraordinary. Sahangputu was originally an ordinary golden centipede in the mountain shadow of Mangdang Mountain. Although it is also a spiritual species, it is difficult to become a demon without great opportunities, let alone achieve any great achievements. However, the miraculous nature of nature is often amazing. When this golden centipede was walking through the mountains, it penetrated into the belly of a mountain. Deep in the belly of the mountain, there was a cave where a Buddhist cultivator was hidden. Because this Buddhist cultivator has been dead for many years, he has turned into bones, and the elixir has turned into soil. Only a jade slip, a relic, and an unknown piece of black leather held by the Buddhist cultivator in the palm of his hand remain. The golden centipede swallowed the relics, opened up spiritual wisdom, and learned how to practice. It also obtained 3 great methods from the jade slips, one of which is the Vajra meditation method, which is an authentic Buddhist method and can lead directly to the realm of Arhat. A fragment called the Great Technique of Devouring Demons contains the way of devouring, which can only be practiced to the peak of the golden elixir. The Buddha Demon Double Heart Divine Technique is a cultivation method similar to the 7 Spirits Dharmakaya. It was also a coincidence that Jin Senti did not practice the complete Buddhist Dharma, but practiced the fragments of the demon-swallowing Dharma. Actually, it is not accurate to say that it is a fragment. This magic of swallowing demons was learned by the dead Buddhist cultivator from the piece of black leather that was pregnant with the way of swallowing. He just perfected the devouring demon technique to the peak of the golden elixir. When he was about to comprehend the nascent soul realm technique, he couldn't restrain the conflict between swallowing and compassion. He went crazy and died here. Having said this, Su Junming couldn't help but feel happy. Fortunately, the bronze mirror he was born with suppressed all the talismans in his danshan. Otherwise, those conflicting laws would make him fall into the same situation as the Buddhist cultivator who understood the demon-swallowing Dharma. Situation. So, the key lies in this black leather. The Dragon Emperor frowned. That's right. This is a piece of skin that contains the fundamental energy of the innate Tai Chi devouring way. Tai Chi is fundamentally angry, the Dragon Emperor was suddenly shocked. The level is the same as the innate 5 elements basic Chi in his body. No wonder it can resist his great 5 elements divine light. Glancing at him, Su Junming's eyes were filled with excitement. The most important thing is that this piece of skin contains not one fundamental energy, but 3, far more than you. The Dragon Emperor calmed down. This thing shouldn't be from this Liaozai world. Yes. This is the Daodi skin. It is indeed this thing, said the Dragon Emperor. Daodi is a monster recorded in the Book of Mountains and Seas. It has a human face and a sheep body, eyes under its armpits, tiger teeth, and human hands. It is born with the ability to devour. Su Junming opened his palms, and the golden centipede bag had turned into an oval shape with irregular surroundings, about 3 square meters in size, 3 fingers thick, completely black, with uneven leather on the surface. It should be an extremely powerful gluttonous beast. It was killed by a stronger being. As a result, its fur fell into the void. After drifting for an unknown period of time, it fell into the world of Liaozai. This explanation sounds reasonable, but no one knows whether it is. Fortunately, this is not the point. How are you going to deal with it? Dragon Emperor asked. This fur is too advanced, and my current weapon refining skills cannot be practiced at all. If I was like Sahangpudu, who roughly made a bag and only relied on the devouring instinct of this fur to fight against the enemy, I would not do such a shameful thing. Dry. After all, he is also a weapon refiner. If he goes out with a bad bag on his head, won't others laugh him to death? Besides, he has no shortage of spiritual treasures to take advantage of. What, you want it? The Dragon Emperor shook his head. The few treasures I have now are enough. Anything more is just a waste of time. If he could train the 5 elements Dharma realm to 120,000 miles this time, the power of the great 5 elements divine light would instantly be several times stronger. Capturing Sahangpudu wouldn't have to be as strenuous as before. After Su Junming nodded, he put away the Daodi skin. With a wave of his right hand, a formation diagram flashed with light, and a long sword appeared in mid-air. This 5 elements formation diagram that you obtained from Sahangpudu, after my retraining, is now a spiritual treasure with 5 levels of spiritual taboos. This magic sword was made by me using the Zen staff, and now it has 9 levels of spiritual taboos. Just take it. You can keep it, I don't need these things. You brought the 3-tailed green fox and Zuch Wolong back, didn't you accept them as your disciples? The Dragon Emperor shook his head. There was just some unresolved karma between me and them. At that time, I was eager to hunt down Sahangpudu, so I brought them back together. As for accepting disciples, I have never thought about it. Moreover, they cannot meet my standards. Su Junming smiled faintly and threw the 5 elements formation diagram and the magic sword casually. Take it. The days of practice will be long in the future, and someone you like will always show up. If you keep something in your hand now, you won't be unable to bring out a decent treasure when someone becomes your disciple in the future. After thinking about it for a while, the Dragon Emperor nodded. As Su Junming said, the days to come are still very long. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 482. Boom. The rough, thick, and wide bluestone slabs were shaken by the dark light emitting from the sun, and the iron ropes, which were larger than the water tanks. A 6-foot-tall boy with streamlined muscles and a slightly childish face wiped the sweat from his forehead. Master said, if I can lift this pea-size iron lock, teach me the first level of the Panhuang Sutra, and now I finally did it, the young man thought with joy. Tianyuan. The rich and slightly hoarse voice shook Ye Tianyuan's body and turned around quickly. At some point, a 9-foot-tall young man with a kind and clumsy face, whose majestic figure could not be concealed in grey single clothes, stood 10 feet away behind him. Seeing the person coming, Ye Tianyuan looked happy and said impatiently. Master, I raised the size B iron lock. A smile appeared on the face of the tower-like man. I saw. Master, you said that as long as I can lift it, you will teach me the Panhuang Sutra. Haha, of course I keep my word as a teacher. However, the Panhuang Sutra is a supreme skill created by your master, and it cannot be taught without being a direct descendant of our section. Therefore, if you want to learn, you must first become a disciple of our section, that's all. Ye Tianyuan scratched his head and said in confusion, Master, haven't I already worshipped you as my teacher? Qin Zhong subconsciously looked at the bronze mirror phantom in his dantian with his spiritual consciousness. Only those who have used it know how helpful this thing is to spiritual practice. And he is also the symbol of a direct descendant of the Chongshan lineage. He walked over, stretched out his dark-skinned, surprisingly generous palm, and patted the disciple on the head. You still need to pass your master's postgraduate entrance examination before you can officially get started. However, I believe that with your qualifications, you will definitely pass. Looking at his master's encouraging eyes, Ye Tianyuan nodded vigorously. Don't worry, Master, I will definitely be able to do it. Master believes in you. As soon as he finished speaking, a bright spiritual crane rushed into the small valley, breaking the warmth between the master and the disciple. He passes the message. Qin Zhong waved his hand, and the spirit crane flew over, circled around, and then fell into his hand and turned into a talisman. The spiritual consciousness is immersed, and a line of himself is reflected in the sea of consciousness. Come quickly to Wuzhang Peak. Qin Zhong's heart was slightly shaken, and there was a hint of excitement in his eyes. It's been 100 years and it's finally starting. Master. Looking at the disciple's questioning eyes, he smiled slightly. Pack your things, Master will take you to see your master. Great, I'll go right away. Ye Tianyuan turned his head and hurried towards the only wooden house in the valley. The master and apprentice took their luggage and left the valley where they had lived for more than 10 years and came to the outside of the mountain. After more than 10 years of hiding in seclusion, the outside world has long since changed. High-rise buildings, colorful lights, everything is different from before. The master and apprentice who originally planned to take the train were quickly kicked out because they did not have ID cards. Master, what should I do? Seeing his apprentice's eyes asking for help, Qin Zhong scratched his head. If it were him, he would just pick up the train. But nowadays, as a teacher, you must not do such sneaky things. Qin Zhong was also helpless, thinking that he, a martial arts cultivator who once had perfected the earthly evil, but now retreated to innate martial arts due to external circumstances, would be stumped by a small certificate. Let's go to the station and have a look first. If it doesn't work, then we can think of a way. Ye Tianyuan nodded. He had been with his master since he could remember. He had been living in the mountains for so many years, practicing martial arts and Taoism with his master. Now it was his first time to go out, so naturally he didn't have any better ideas. The master and the apprentice didn't have much money. After asking for the route, they walked along the street towards the station. Passing by a park, Qin Zhong stopped. Master, what's wrong? Follow me. Seeing that the master had already walked in from a side path, although he didn't understand what he meant, he quickly followed him. After walking with the master for a while, the sound of pop-pop came into my ears. Ye Tianyuan's eyes lit up, he was very familiar with this voice. After the master and apprentice walked around the trees in front, a small circular square of about 50 or 60 square meters appeared in front of them, surrounded by tall shrubs. A young man who is nearly 1.8 meters tall and has a somewhat immature look on his face is practicing martial arts diligently with his arms and legs linked together. It can be seen that he has been practicing for a long time, and his school uniform is soaked with sweat. But even so, he was extremely focused, and their arrival did not affect his every move at all. Master, it's Bajiquan. Qin Zhong nodded. At that time, he traveled around the world and fought against Huo Diange, a famous Bajiquan master. At that time, he had not yet become a disciple of Su Junming and had no true inheritance. So he only relied on the 4 elephant palms to achieve an undefeated outcome. After I left the capital, I planned to seek advice after my kung fu had improved further. Unexpectedly, he later successfully became a disciple and practiced the Panhuang Sutra. His strength greatly increased and he was considered to have entered the martial arts threshold. At this point, ordinary kung fu masters, even the so-called Huajin, were far behind him, so they never went there again. Unexpectedly, in the blink of an eye, 100 years later, I met Bajiquan again in this small park looking at the young man's movements. It was obvious that he had learned the true story. Thinking of his master's instructions some time ago, Qin Zhong subconsciously activated the phantom bronze mirror in his dantian and looked at the young man. A ball of bright purple air above the opponent's head condensed into a ball as big as the mouth of a bowl. It was rising and falling, and the light was bright, as if there was an infinite mystery hidden inside. Under the heavy purple light, the young man who practiced boxing seriously also had a touch of sacred temperament. However, this temperament still seemed immature at this moment, but it already had the momentum of the sun rising in the east and candles lighting up the world. Qin Zhong was greatly shocked. The master once told him that when this world is promoted to the 1,000 worlds, a group of sons of destiny who condense the essence of this world will be born. They have extraordinary qualifications and constant opportunities. Let them find these people to take under their disciples and pass on the Taoism. Ye Tianyuan was the one who adopted him as an infant from an orphanage 19 years ago according to what his master had pointed out. Over the years, Ye Tianyuan has indeed been as his master said, with extraordinary qualifications and outstanding understanding. The great Dao boxing, which was improved from the 4 elephant palms, can be mastered in just 1 month. In 3 years, the marrow and blood have been purified, and the innate level has been advanced. Now, after 12 years, he has reached the late stage of Xiantian, and is only 1 step away from catching up with his master, whose cultivation has regressed due to the sharp decline in external spiritual energy. You must know that this is not his era. In modern times, where spiritual energy is becoming increasingly thinner, it is dozens of times more difficult to advance to the innate level than it was 100 years ago. Ye Tianyuan started practicing at the age of 6, and reached the late innate stage at the age of 18. He also has a strong Taoist heart and outstanding perseverance. He is simply the best martial arts seed. He never thought that he would see another seed like this. Master said that purple is the most valuable in luck. If you encounter someone with purple energy, don't miss it. Be sure to join this section. Just when Qin Zhong's thoughts were wandering, the boy practicing boxing also stopped. He looked at the tall, dark-skinned man next to him, who was as short-haired and as strong as an iron tower. This man is really tall, he must be 2.3 meters tall. Although there are many people over 2 meters tall in modern society, they are still very few in China, where there are more than 1 billion people. More importantly, he felt a strong sense of oppression from the other party. It made him subconsciously fearful. In addition, the young man next to this person looked about the same age as himself, but he had an extremely powerful aura and thick finger joints. He was obviously a martial arts practitioner. But his strength is definitely stronger than that of him who has only been practicing martial arts for 2 months. Because, he felt a strong threat from the other party. Seeing the 2 people staring at him with interest, the young man became more troublesome, wiped the sweat from his forehead, and prepared to leave. Wait a moment. The rich and slightly hoarse voice made him stop subconsciously. He turned his head and looked at the 2 of them warily. What do you want to do? Young man, are you practicing Beiji Quan? Qin Zhong asked. He frowned slightly, and after a moment's hesitation, he nodded. Looking at how well you've practiced, it's obvious that you've received the true inheritance. Who is your master? I don't have a master, this boxing technique is passed down from my family. The person who taught him boxing did not accept him as his disciple. He was afraid of exposing the other person and causing trouble to others, so he lied about his family history. Qin Zhong smiled. After 100 years, although he was not smart among many brothers, he still had some ability to observe words and emotions. The boy was obviously lying. But he didn't expose it either. May I have your name? The young man's eyes flashed. My name is Wang Yet. Obviously this name is also fake. Back then, Huo Diange and I had a close relationship. There was no direct disciple named Wang under the Beiji section. Huo Diange. The young man curled his lips inwardly. During this period of martial arts training, he also looked up the history of Bajiquan on the internet. Huo Diange, as a disciple of the famous sharpshooter Li Shuwen, was an ancient person who was active 100 years ago. If you are friendly with him, doesn't it mean that this person is at least over 100 years old? But judging from his appearance, he looks like he is in his 30s. That's not how bluffing works. Seeing the obvious sarcasm on his face, Qin Zhong didn't care, but Ye Tianyun next to him was unhappy. Having been raised by Qin Zhong since he was a child, he could not tolerate others looking down upon his master who was like a master and a father. You brat, what do you know? My master became a Taoist through martial arts. At his peak, he opened 72 acupoints of the earthly demon and lived for 300 years. Not to mention having an encounter with Huo Diange 100 years ago, even if you, the boy, will have a dry body in the future, my master is still alive. The young man was startled, but he quickly sneered, what nonsense are you bragging about? This is the age of science. Fairies, devils, and monsters are all feudal superstition. After stopping Ye Tianyun who was about to speak, Qin Zhong smiled and said, young man, the world is not as big as what you see now. After saying that, he waved his hand, and a spiritual talisman turned into a ball of feathered cranes about 10 feet in size. The feathered cranes raised their heads and roared loudly, waved their wings, picked up the 3 of them, and instantly rose into the sky. The speed was as fast as lightning, and he was over the city in the blink of an eye. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 483. Chapter 476, Resurrection of Spiritual Energy. This flying crane talisman was trained by Renwuji. It can be used to fly for a short period of time, but it cannot travel for a long time because it consumes too much spiritual energy. Qin Zhong just wanted to show his magic and take advantage of the opportunity to take this young man who was favored by God into his sect. After flying around the city, the group landed at a hidden location in a scenic spot on the outskirts of the city. Suddenly stepping on the hard ground, the young man staggered a few steps before standing still. He looked at the familiar city in the distance in a daze, and his heart was extremely complicated. The short experience he just had caused the faith he had held onto for 18 years to collapse. Were it not for perseverance, this would have been madness. Master. Ye Tianyun is very smart. He has already noticed the strangeness in his master's actions. After shaking his head to signal him not to say anything, the master and apprentice stood aside quietly. If his ambition is too bad, even if he is a favored person, I will not accept him. The experience of becoming a disciple and practicing martial arts for many years gave him a deep understanding. If you want to achieve success in martial arts, the most important thing is perseverance. That kind of perseverance and strong perseverance that will never give up until the goal is achieved is the most important and only entry standard for his lineage. Are there really demons and monsters in this world? Seeing his calm expression, Qin Zhong nodded secretly and said. Have. Are you an immortal? I'm just a traveler on the road to becoming an immortal, but my master is about to become an immortal now. Su Junming has never concealed his cultivation from his disciples. In fact, his strength lies in setting up hopes and goals for his disciples and guiding them to continuously cultivate and become stronger. After Gudu swallowed his saliva, the young man was nervous and looking forward to it. Can immortality really make you immortal? Qin Zhong shook his head. Have no idea. Have no idea. The young man was stunned. The lifespan in the Golden Core realm is 300, the lifespan in the Nascent Soul realm is 800, the lifespan in the Yuan Shen realm is 3000, and the lifespan in the Immortal realm is 10,000. The higher your cultivation level, the longer you will get. As for whether you can live forever, you may know it when your cultivation level is higher. Because he didn't know what his master was planning, yet Tianyun's tone was not as aggressive as before. I see. The young man was confused for a moment. Are you willing to become your teacher? The young man's heart trembled. He looked at the middle-aged man who was 9 feet tall and extremely majestic in front of him. The simple and honest face that had been preserved since his youth made people subconsciously feel good and trustful. The young man lowered his head and thought for a moment. Why me? It's a coincidence. And I see the shadow of my youth in you. At that time, I was also very dedicated to martial arts. Apart from eating and sleeping, I spent all my time on martial arts. Although because of my poor qualifications, progress was slow, but Master said that strong perseverance is the best talent in martial arts, so he accepted me as his first disciple. A trace of memories appeared on Qin Zhong's face. The scenes of hard training in martial arts in his youth and finally being accepted by Su Junming emerged from the bottom of his heart. Although a long time has passed, this memory that he cherishes the most is still deeply imprinted in his heart. Shaking his head slightly, he recovered his reverie and looked at the boy opposite. You have better qualifications than me. It's rare to have such a deep obsession with martial arts. I don't want a talented person like you to have no one to teach you and waste time, so I plan to accept you. Of course, if you don't want to, I don't force it either. Although this young man has excellent qualifications, he is also a rare talent seed in this world. But if the other party is not willing to become a disciple, he will not force it. After all, he already has Yetianyun as a disciple. The further you progress in martial arts training, the more resources you will consume. His lineage is destined not to have too many disciples. Can I think about it for a few days? Hey, let me tell you, do you know how precious this opportunity is? There are countless people in the entire cultivation world who want to join my Chongshan lineage, Yetianyun said dissatisfied. He had followed Qin Zhong to attend several gatherings in the cultivation world. As long as he mentioned the identity of Chongshan Master Su Junming as the founding disciple of the mountain, everyone present showed respect. This scene left a deep impression on the young Yetianyun. He was also deeply proud of it. Tianyun. He patted his head and signaled him not to say anything. This young man didn't even know how to practice. How could he possibly know the status of their Chongshan lineage in the world of practice? I can give you 3 days. If you are willing, come back to me here after 3 days. If you are not willing, there is no need to come again. The young man nodded. Thank you. Wait a minute. After stopping the young man, isn't your name Wang yet? The young man hesitated. My name is Wang Chao. No need to apologize. If it were me, I wouldn't tell a stranger my real name when I meet him for the first time. Wang Chao nodded, glanced at the master and apprentice, then turned and walked down the mountain. Watch his back go away. Master, do you think he will come back? Meeting. So sure. He is the same person as us. If he knows that there is a more wonderful world in the world, he will not miss it. It was only after he saw Su Junming's otherworldly cultivation that he yearned for him. Even if he had to go through a lot of hardships, he would join his disciples. So I'm going to have a junior brother soon. Don't you have a junior brother? Qin Zhong said with a smile. How can it be the same? Although the disciples of the second uncle are also junior brothers, they are still not as friendly as the junior brothers of the same lineage. By the way, Master. Didn't Master ask us to go back to Wuzang Peak? What if we are late? Your master gave you 1 month, which is enough. Ye Tianyun nodded, but soon frowned. What? You don't want to go back? After shaking his head, he felt quite depressed. Uncle Master loves to tease people. Qin Zhong burst into laughter. Compared to the majestic and steady Master, Renwuji, although he still looks like a boy, has a weird temper and likes to tease people. Not to mention Ye Tianyun, even he has been teased several times. However, this uncle is very measured and will not be annoying. Don't worry. As long as your master is here, your Uncle Ren will not be presumptuous. Ye Tianyun nodded. 3 days passed quickly. Qin Zhong, who had been meditating cross-legged on the top of the mountain, opened his eyes. Coming. Soon, Ye Tianyun, who was practicing boxing next to him, also noticed the movement and turned his head to look down the mountain. Not long after, the figure of Dynasty appeared around the corner. But behind him, there was also a beautiful woman wearing a white sportswear with a ponytail and a serious expression. Sister Chen, it's on the top of the mountain above. Tang Zikan nodded. In the past few years, she had encountered some magicians and shamans with mysterious powers in places such as Southeast Asia and Africa. Their powers were completely different from martial arts, and they were strange and difficult to deal with. But compared with the rumored immortal way, it is like the bright moon and the stars, the gap is too big. Therefore, after hearing from Wang Chao that he was valued by cultivators and wanted to take him under his wing, he hurried over. In addition to checking, she also wanted to meet the most mysterious cultivator in China. He crossed the steps easily and reached the top of the mountain. Then he saw the middle-aged man with a body like an iron tower and an ancient face. The other party gave him the feeling that it was like an ancient giant mountain, so majestic and vast that mountains and seas could not move it. It was also like a deep pool, no matter how hard she explored, she could not see the bottom. But the 1.9-meter tall young man next to him was different. 3 feet away, you can feel the burning sensation emanating from the other party's body, like coals of fire. Tang Zikan was shocked. What a strong qi and blood! How can a person have such a huge qi and blood? Looking at the young man with a strong aura, she seemed to see a giant lion with a majestic physique. Just as she was examining the master and apprentice, Qin Zhong and Ye Tianyun were also examining her. Compared with Ye Tianyun, who was more interested, Qin Zhong, after noticing the woman's extraordinary martial arts cultivation, activated the bronze mirror in his dantian to take a phantom look. A round ball of purple light appeared above her head. I was shocked. Didn't Master say that with the blessing of heaven, there are not many people with purple energy? How come we met two at once? Seeing the two approaching, Qin Zhong put away his unnecessary thoughts. Have you thought about it? Wang Chao knows to ask him again. He nodded quickly and was about to speak. Suddenly it got dark. Qin Zhong suddenly raised his head. I saw that the once blue sky slowly turned into a starry night sky. All the stars shine brightly. At the same time, the ground beneath their feet slowly trembled. Several people had practiced cultivation. Although they were bumpy, they were able to stand firm. Rumble, a sound like a bull's roar came from underground. The momentum was earth-shattering. Visible to the naked eye, the surrounding flowers, plants, and trees swelled crazily as if they had taken hormones. In less than a quarter of an hour, the palm-sized grass grew dozens of times. The tree that was originally more than 10 meters high soared into the sky, and in the blink of an eye it became 20 or 30 feet high, with more than a dozen people hugging it. The hill that was originally only 200 to 300 meters below my feet has grown to 2,000 to 3,000 meters like a rocket. Not far away, a small river that goes around the city has been widened more than 10 times. The river is 400 to 500 meters wide, and the waves are so rough that it is simply incomparable. Everything is bigger than before. Fortunately, despite the great shaking, the city was basically safe. Even the railways across the river and the tunnels through the mountains did not collapse. Instead, they automatically became longer as the mountain grew larger. It's as if there is an invisible hand controlling everything. While Ye Tianyuan, Wang Chao and Tang Zikin were shocked by the huge changes in the world around them, Qin Zhong's face slowly became excited. He clearly felt the sharp increase in spiritual energy around him. The resurrection of heaven and earth that has been anticipated for hundreds of years is just around the corner. Even with his temperament, he became excited. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 484. Immediately, he stood up and couldn't wait to activate the Panhuang Sutra. He had already successfully opened the 72 earthly evil acupoints, which were like 72 giant holes, wildly devouring the surrounding spiritual energy. The rolling spiritual energy condensed into a pale white mist after entering 3 feet around his body. The closer it got to his body, the more solid the mist became. By the last half meter, it had almost condensed into substance. Because the swallowing speed was too fast, a huge roar appeared in the air. Qin Zhong's body quickly expanded as his cultivation level rapidly recovered. 1 foot, 2 feet, 5 feet. When he reached 9 feet and was infinitely close to 10 feet, he slowly stopped. Pity. Qin Zhong felt regretful. He originally planned to take advantage of the recovery of spiritual energy to break through to the Tiangang realm in one go. However, the spiritual energy that was rising rapidly slowly stopped after returning to the level 100 years ago. This level of aura is simply not enough for him to break through to the Tiangang realm. After 100 years of hard training, Qin Zhong's character was no longer what it was before. Although there was regret, he soon regained his composure. The recovery of heaven and earth is an irreversible trend. I believe that after some time, the aura of heaven and earth will continue to improve. All he had to do was wait patiently. After many years, I finally recovered, Qin Zhong sighed. At this moment, not only him, but all the monks who fell into the realm due to the decline of spiritual energy recovered quickly. After experiencing the lost and recovered magic power, Qin Zhong transformed into a 9-foot body again. But the scene that looked like a giant holding the sky just now was firmly imprinted in the eyes of Ye Tianyuan, Wang Chao and Tang Zikin. Master, was it the magical power in the Panhuang Sutra just now? Ye Tianyuan said impatiently. That's right. You will also practice in the future. Very good. Ye Tianyuan was extremely excited. Wang Chao was also very excited. He also wanted such tyrannical power. But compared to Ye Tianyuan, he still had more worries. Master, what happened with the great change in the world just now? Now the world has returned to a state of sunshine, but the mountains that swelled like balloons, the lush suburbs that looked like primeval forests, and the sun that was obviously a circle bigger all confirmed that the big change of just 15 minutes was not an illusion. This matter is very complicated, and I can't explain it clearly for a while. I will explain it to you in detail after you become a disciple. Seeing the worry in his eyes, don't worry, the great change in the world is not a catastrophe. Your parents are not in danger. Wang Chao nodded, and after seeing Tang Zikin next to him, he remembered his plan and said quickly. Master, my Bajiquan was taught by Sister Chen. Her qualifications are better than mine. Please accept her as well. Stopping here, Tang Zikin couldn't help but reveal desire in his eyes. If she had no idea when she came, and just wanted to check for Wang Chao and open her eyes by the way. Then after experiencing the big change just now and seeing Qin Zhong's giant spirit with her own eyes, her attitude towards practice has changed. Gotta crave it. The pursuit of immortality is the desire of almost everyone. Qin Zhong turned his head. Are you willing? The opportunity was rare, so Tang Zikin would not refuse it. Disciple is willing. Qin Zhong nodded. You can join my Chongshan lineage, but I will not accept you as my disciple. Tang Zikin was stunned. Senior, what do you mean? Haha, don't get me wrong. In my lineage, we practice the Panhuang Sutra. We torture our bodies all day long and dance with guns and sticks. Not only is it hard work, but we also smell like sweat. It's really not suitable for girls. However, besides me, my master has 4 direct disciples. My 3rd junior sister and 5th junior sister are both great monks in the realm of Yuan Shen, 1 step away from becoming an immortal. You have good qualifications, so you can train under them. The future achievements will be no worse than those with me. Qin Zhong spoke sincerely, and Tang Zikin could naturally feel it. Moreover, immortality is rare and she doesn't want to miss it. Everything is at the discretion of seniors. Qin Zhong nodded, and with a wave of his hand, a powerful force of power supported the 3 of them. Now that his cultivation has been fully restored, he can fly into the sky and escape to the earth. The 4 of them came into the air. Wang Chao, where is your home? My home. Now that the world has changed drastically, your parents must be worried about your safety. And if you follow me back to the mountain, you are not allowed to go down the mountain unless you break the boundary, so you must inform them in advance. Wang Chao, who was immersed in the excitement of being able to practice Taoism and become an immortal, and the longing for his master to fly into the sky and escape from the earth, understood instantly and quickly pointed in the direction of his home. 1 day later, a ray of light flew directly towards the outside of Wuchang City. The light fell from the sky and disappeared instantly in the Tianxingzhu River section that was already nearly 10,000 meters wide. Qin Zhong stood in mid-air in the Wuzhang Peak Cave, looking at the land hundreds of miles below, the lush trees covering the green mountains, the gurgling water, like a jade belt, the calm lake reflected the sky, like a huge round mirror. The small island of more than 10 acres in the center of the lake is covered with red flowers and green willows, and 3 tall wooden houses are nestled among it. All of this made him feel so kind. In my mind, I couldn't help but recall the scenes of studying under a teacher and practicing Taoism. It's all back again. I muttered to myself. Suddenly, 2 golden lights soared into the sky from the woods to the north of the cave and flew over like lightning. Wang Chao and Tang Zikin, who came here for the first time, showed a trace of solemnity on their faces. Because after the golden light stopped in front of Qin Zhong, 2 huge golden lions were revealed. Especially on the front one, the thick lion's mane flutters in the wind, like burning flames, shining brightly. The body is more than 3 feet long, with tangled muscles and a majestic face, which is intimidating. Behind it, followed a golden lioness with no lion's mane, but her hair was as bright as gold, and her body was more than 2 feet long. Lao Jin, it seems that your cultivation has recovered. Qin Zhong walked up and patted the golden lion's big head hard. Roar. Damn it, old Qin, you're still so careless, I'm so dumbfounded by you, the golden lion roared angrily. Ever since the golden lion was given to Qin Zhong by Su Junming, the 2 have been together for nearly 100 years. During this period, they have faced life and death together countless times. Their friendship is far stronger than that of biological brothers. Especially after practicing Su Junming's improved manuscript of the control of 10,000 beasts, their entanglement with each other became even deeper. After the 2 greeted each other, Qin Zhong turned his head. Jin Qing, you look good. The lioness nodded. Thankfully the spiritual energy has recovered, otherwise I'm afraid I would have to recuperate for a few more years. She is the demon cultivator with the blood of the nine-headed golden lion that Qin Zhong and Jin Shi met when they were practicing Taoism. Although the bloodline is not as good as that of the golden lion, it is not bad either. The rare thing is that she is also a lioness. The golden lion, who has long wanted to find a companion, will certainly not let him go. After chasing nearly a jiazi, I finally captured the opponent. Later, when Jin Qing became pregnant, the golden lion accompanied her to the Wuzang Peak cave to wait for delivery. What about the three little guys? Still in the cave? Jin Qing turned her head and glanced ahead. Are they all your apprentices? You guys know Tianyuan, that brat. Chao is my new disciple. This girl is going to be introduced to my third or fifth junior sister to practice Taoism. Strictly speaking, she is part of my Chongshan lineage. Old Qin, it seems that you are also spreading your wings, Jin Shi smiled. Qin Zhong shook his head. You know, my lineage is destined not to have many people. 2 in each generation is considered too many. Martial arts training consumes too many resources. Even a founder like Su Junming who is proficient in Tiangong Dao cannot afford to support him too much. At this moment, a ray of light flew from the island. When they came to a stop 3 feet away from Qin Zhong and Jin Shi, a fat man wearing a green Taoist robe and a Taoist bun, with a round face, a fat body and a very happy face appeared in everyone's eyes. Under his feet was a bronze-colored sword as wide as a door panel and huge. Senior brother Yang. Tianyuan shouted. After smiling and nodding at him, the fat man cupped his fists in salute. Uncle Qin, Uncle Jin, and Uncle Master asked me to call you to discuss matters. Qin Zhong nodded. Yang Rong, have you broken through to the Golden Core realm? We were able to make a lucky breakthrough by taking advantage of the great changes in the world. There is never any luck in cultivation. After a pause, old Jin, let's go. Don't keep Master waiting. The golden lion nodded. Child, you go back and take care of the children first, and I'll go see the master. After Jin Qing nodded, she turned around and flew towards the top of the mountain from where she came. Let's go. The group of people flew straight towards the center of the island. The closer you get, the clearer the view becomes of the 3 zigzag wooden houses. After landing on the bluestone square in the middle, everyone, led by Qin Zhong, walked through the square, climbed the steps, and walked into the wooden house. The moment they came in, Wang Chao and Tang Zikan, who were here for the first time, had a look of shock on their faces. Originally, the wooden house looked less than 200 square meters from the outside, but it was indeed 4 or 5 times larger after entering. The space of nearly 1 acre was extremely empty. Except for the huge word Dao on the wall facing the wall and the 9 night pearls on the top, there are only a dozen futons left. There are 2 futons at the front, the left one is empty, and on the right sits a man wearing a black and white robe, with a gold ring around his neck, a light golden straw rope around his waist, and a small green gourd hanging on it. He is about 6 or 7 years old. Child. 3 feet away from the child, there were 5 futons. 2 are empty on the left, and 3 are on the right. One is sitting upright, a middle-aged Taoist wearing a green Taoist robe, with a square and majestic face, and a yellow gourd hanging from his waist. On the left side of her, there sat a beautiful middle-aged woman wearing a purple dress and a golden bow in her hair. On the right side is a young man wearing black clothes, with a thin build and a serious expression. Both the beautiful woman and the young man have similar yellow gourds hanging around their waists. Behind the 3 people, there were 4 futons lined up. The one on the far left was empty, and the 3 behind them each had 2 men and 1 woman sitting on them. Yang Rong walked to the far left and sat down on the empty futon. To his right, sat a man in green clothes who looked very similar to the middle-aged man in green robes with a square face and a majestic temperament. On the right side, there is a beautiful girl wearing a pink dress, whose appearance is similar to that of a beautiful woman.